Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the AFTM Online. Some call it AFTM TV. In any case, we are here for you. We are the Austin Friends of Traditional Music, and that is Austin, Texas, not Austin, Minnesota, or any of the others. We are here, and we've been here since 1974 promoting traditional music of all kinds, and we do it by sponsoring concerts, festivals, workshops, all kinds of activities. And we're getting back at it. As you can imagine, 2020 was a rough year for us, as everyone else. We couldn't do any of the things that we normally do, and it was a very sad situation. But things are perking up. I've been out and I've seen some live music in the Austin area. And the good news is that our wonderful October Festival will take place again in some form. We're going to have a camping event at Camp Ben McCullough on the third weekend of October, which is October 15 through 17. So do mark that date. It will not be a full-fledged festival, and the actual form of the event will come together as the months go on. But it will be a camping event with all kinds of jamming and maybe a lot more. And we have decided that the admission price will be free. No charge to attend this event. There'll be the camping charge that Camp Ben charges every year, of course, but no charge for the event itself. So mark that on your calendar. Now, let's see. Last time we had an interview, it was the very talented Melissa Carper, wonderful musician who's living in the Austin area these days, and she's back. I've seen her perform a couple times. We're going to go kind of far afield today. We're staying in the Central Time Zone, fortunately, but we're going way up north, and we are going to talk to two wonderful musicians who are in Evanston, Illinois, as it turns out. And I'm talking about Charlie Walden and Patt Plunkett. Charlie and Pat, so great to get together with you.
Hey, Gary.
Hey.
Well, you are absolutely famous on the internet as for the traditional fiddling crowd, and I certainly enjoy your productions very much, even though I'm not a fiddler. I was watching your 100th Big Fiddle Show, which was a gala event by any standards.
It was.
And I was so excited to see our own Chip Bach performing there.
Yes.
He contributed a tune.
Yeah, he's a regular
gentleman that he is. But I know, Charlie, you're associated with Missouri fiddling. And can you tell us a little bit about how you got exposed to music early in your life and how Missouri fiddling came to be part of your life?
Sure. If I can just say something about our presence on YouTube, though, I call ourselves YouTube nano celebrities.
Yes.
Wonder that describes it so well.
Well, I grew up in central Missouri near Columbia in a little town called Hallsville, which is on the prairie part of Missouri is up north, So it's just a little dinky town with about 300 people. It's I think my parents moved there in the 60s. Now it's got 600 people. So from there, it's really grown fantastically over the course of 50 years, But there was just an area that was a hotbed of people playing fiddle, older guys and women playing old time fiddle. They had a lot of fiddle contests and a lot of dances. And I think my home ec teacher's husband was a local fiddler, a pretty notable guy. And I'd heard him play at some ice cream social at the school. And I said, man, I'd like to be able to do that. And right away he said, I'm going to send you to somebody. I don't think he wanted to teach me himself. but
so you were ornery.
Yeah, I was an ornery kid, but mischievous. But so he sent me to a guy in Columbia there named Taylor McBain, and that's how I got started playing fiddle. I didn't take lessons. You just kind of had to loaf around and hang around with the fiddlers, and eventually they'd think you were serious, and they'd start showing you stuff. So.
Well, I guess it wasn't that many years ago that I learned there is a distinct Missouri style of fiddling. I lived in Iowa City for a couple of years, got to know Al Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's very heavily influenced by some of the fine Missouri fiddlers. I was wondering, is it possible to describe in words the style of Missouri fiddling as it might compare to Texas style or other regional styles?
Sure. It's the tune, the style can be defined by what you're doing with the fiddle and also the batch of tunes or the repertoire. And the repertoire of tunes is very similar to what's played in Texas, at least historically. But the Missouri fiddle players play kind of right strictly on the beat. There's not that backbeat you hear in Appalachia, and there's not that kind of forward-looking swing that you hear in Texas. And so it's kind of right on the beat, and the music is driven by the melody more so than by shuffling the bow. That the bowing is saw stroke bowing, so it's just all about playing a clean, nice version of the melody. And I always tell people, go listen to Tommy Jackson or Buddy Durham or some of those fiddlers from Nashville. That style of playing is pretty much what they were playing in Missouri when I was growing up.
A lot of notes per beat.
Yeah, a lot of notes. A lot of notes. It's all about the melody. Yeah.
Well, Pat, are you also a Missouri native, or does your story start somewhere else?
I grew up in a town of 700 people in Illinois.
Nice.
And my grandpa was a fiddler, and the grandma I never knew was actually a singer and an organist. And I started performing singing when I was 6. I started singing solos at church. And then my older sister was a really good piano player. And I took a few lessons, but then I just taught myself how to play piano. And eventually I majored in singing at college and became a music teacher.
She's a real musician, I say.
Bona fide, for sure. Well, I've so much enjoyed your playing when you play with Charlie, and it's a role that I guess I more commonly see taken with a guitar player backing up a fiddler. But your musicianship and your facility on the piano is just amazing, Pat. I just love listening to you play. And I'm wondering, are there other kinds of music other than fiddle music that you like to play in your own time, your spare time?
Oh, well, fiddle, I just love backing up fiddle music. And of course, I do get out the show tune books, the Gershwin, Cole Porter, Irving Berlin. I just love that stuff, because it's just fun to sing and play that.
Well, how did y'all meet each other, may I ask?
Oh, let's see. Well,
it's a blind gig.
It's a blind date gig. Yeah. We have this common friend. There's a very well-known fiddler named Chirp Smith who lives in Illinois. Well, his wife,
Brothers, right?
Yeah. Chirps is a really fine musician, fine fella, and his wife's name is Dot, and she knew us in common, and they wanted me to come up here to Chicago when I was living in Missouri and play for their contra dance. So I said, well, yeah, I'll come, but you have to find me somebody to play accompaniment. And that's who they picked, Pat, And I thought she was mighty cute, so it just all went from there.
Wow.
Later on, she begged me to marry her.
Not really. But it didn't take too long. We met and we were married within 5 months.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
A blind date gig. That is a beautiful story.
Blind gig.
Sure. Yeah. And how long has the Big Fiddle Show been taking place on YouTube, Charlie?
Oh, since last, been a year ago, November, I started doing it with a buddy of mine in town, just kind of as a joke. I'd go to his house because we like to eat lunch together. And I said, well, why don't we start a show on YouTube? And I didn't know anything about streaming, and we'll stream it from your kitchen. So I'd go to his house once a week, and we'd just be absolute idiots on YouTube for about 30 minutes or so, and then we'd go have lunch. So he'd play fiddle, I'd play guitar. And I asked my granddaughter what I should call the show, and she said Big Fiddle Show. So but then when the pandemic hit, I couldn't get together with Don, and Pat and I thought, well, wouldn't it be great fun to just play on YouTube for our friends, And at first we had maybe 25 or 30 people, and we were doing it every night for a few weeks. We just did it every night, just because people were going out of their gourd,
Because it just hit so sudden
everywhere.
Everywhere.
So fast, So then after that, it kind of became a thing, It led to the creation of merchandise,
Actual merch.
Well, we have a lot of relatives and friends.
Right.
So,
once the word got out, and
it was a little bit of normalcy in everybody's day, and that's what we meant it to be. We weren't going to talk about what was happening. We were just going to do tunes, and that's what we did.
And then people get on there and talk to each other. That was the most fun.
Yeah.
Is there were all these people having conversations with each other from all over the country, all over the world, actually. We had people from Australia, Scotland, I don't know where
And
lots of
actually,
Canadians.
We've met a lot of people who I now consider friends, and I've never laid eyes on them through doing this online. And, they've connected with each other.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, that's
fun.
really taking advantage of the pandemic and doing something positive with it. Now, your YouTube channel can be found just by searching Charlie Walden on the YouTube, I
Yeah,
suppose.
just put in Charlie Walden Fiddle on YouTube search and my channel.
Or
will
Charlie
come up.
Walden Missouri Fiddle, or Charlie Walden YouTube.
Yeah, Charlie Walden Fiddle probably is the best way to get it. Yeah.
And I saw so many different themes on your page, like the twin fiddle time when you team up with another fiddler, and Wednesday sessions. And the one that kind of amazed me was the 366 fiddle tunes project, a leap year full of tunes, one a day.
Right.
How did that project come about, Charlie?
Well, a friend of ours up in Canada named Patty Custerock, who's all over YouTube with her fiddling, she's done it. She's done 2 years worth of 365 tunes. So I was waiting for the leap year so I could best her by one tune.
Lying in wait.
I was biding my time. But then, we were doing one a day, and I'd record a few in advance and post them to be played out over the course of the year. And the idea was to go around when we go to festivals, like if we're down at Marinelle and Jean's there in Austin, we recorded several pieces, and you go to Clifftop or other places, I'd record with friends. Well, when the pandemic hit, it was just kind of me. So first it was Pat and I, and then she said had enough. So it was just me in my basement playing tunes with myself. So I kind of, the wind went out of my sails a little bit.
Yeah.
So I only ended up with 300 and some, but I'm going to fill in the gaps this year.
You'll finish it eventually.
What a great project. Well,
Yeah, it was fun.
speaking of festivals, are there some festivals around the country that you will typically attend when normal times are upon us?
Sure.
Which
Yeah,
are the
we
ones that you
we-
like?
We like there's a festival down on the Missouri Arkansas border in a little town called West Plains. In fact, that's where Porter Wagner's from.
Ah.
And they have a nice festival. We've been to that many times. And there's a fiddle camp I started back in the 80s that we go to. I still go to sometimes up in North Missouri. And then what other places do we like to go?
Well, we're going to go to Glenville. We like Allegheny Echoes.
Yeah.
There's
That's both in West Virginia.
There's Clifftop. There's Port Townsend,
Yeah.
and Pembroke.
Yeah, we like to go to
and
Canada.
Shetland and Scotland.
Yeah, we like to go to this one in Pembroke, Ontario. We've been to that about 7 times.
And there's a festival in Scotland you've been to?
Yes, we've been to
2 of them.
We've been to the Neil Gow Festival three
3
times,
times.
and we performed there twice. And then right before the pandemic, the October before, we went to the Shetland Islands.
The Accordion and Fiddle Festival in the
And
Shetland Islands.
so amazing! Wow.
Wow.
You're way up there.
Wow.
You're at 59 degrees latitude. You're way up there near the Arctic Circle.
And
It's amazing.
And it's music at several venues all day from 9 in the morning until about 5 in the morning. They finally throw you out of the building at 5 in the morning. And that building has 3 grand pianos in 3 different rooms, brand new grand pianos.
Yeah, it's an amazing place.
You should hear the piano players there with traditional music. Oh my gosh, I picked up so much from them and from the people in Canada. They have real pianos in the campground to back up fiddles.
It's piano heaven for
It
Pat
is.
when we go to
I can
Scotland or
see it.
Canada, right?
Yeah. Well, those sound like some great events. And I have to say that our little Austin String Band Festival is a fine event. And maybe one of these years we can tempt y'all to come down to visit us in October. That would be fun.
Absolutely.
Hope so.
Love to do it. Yeah.
It's just a couple days drive
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually looked on it. It's actually further than when we go to Pembroke, Ontario, which is which is north. That's north of Ottawa from Chicago, but it's actually further to drive to Austin.
Well,
But we're game. We're game.
We're game.
well, that's great to hear. What did I want to ask you about? Your website too is a wonderful one. All kinds of stuff. Every time I went to your website, there was a different picture staring at me. I mean, it's not one of those websites that just stays the same for 5 years at a time. And can you tell us a little bit about your Patreon project and what your Patreon supporters have access to?
Sure. So as during the pandemic, I started a Patreon site, and that's a site where all kinds of artists and creators can post material and have subscribers so that only subscribers can access the material. So what I've been doing is we've been having a workshop every Saturday since last May. In fact, coming up next weekend will be our 50th Saturday workshop since May of last year.
Not this Saturday, but week
from, yeah. And all those workshops I post on this Patreon site. And then I had a huge library of old workshops I'd done. Whenever I do a workshop, I always take my video camera and just point it at myself, not caring about the quality necessarily, and just record myself. So I've been putting those all on YouTube. So those are all going over to my Patreon site too. So I think I've got a couple hundred tunes on there already, lessons and Pat's doing a series on piano as well now. So it's worked out real well.
Do check out the website, which is charliewalden.com, correct?
Yeah. And it's patreon.com/Charlie Walden. Yeah.
But many ways to get to experience these two talented folks, and the Big Fiddle Show is certainly a fun one. That I get the feeling it's a fairly spontaneous event. Is that an accurate?
Yeah. Although, actually, you know what? It takes me from about on a regular day. It takes me from about 8 in.the throughout the day to be ready for the show that evening, because we have guest videos. I have to process those. We have to figure out our set list. The
set list gets figured out 30 minutes before.
Yeah, but we get a lot of requests. Since I've learned a lot of tunes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Chip Bach early on, like in one of the first months, asked me, I can't remember what it was now. It's some really hard Kenny Baker tune in B flat that I didn't play, but that I really loved and had never bothered to take the time to learn. And it took me about 2 weeks to learn this tune until I could play it on the show for him. But so feel free to request things for it. You can email us at bigfiddleshow@gmail.com with any of that kind of thing.
Right. If it's a tune that's like in his wheelhouse, he'll learn it.
I'll try to play it,
Uh-huh.
I don't always
as a non-fiddler, one of the amazing things to me about fiddlers is the incredible voluminous list of tunes that they can play and just snatch out of the air at any time. I don't know how you can retain all that information, but it's a fine skill to have, Charlie, and we sure appreciate listening to you.
Well, just think of all the other stuff I don't know from having done that.
Yeah. And is it true that maybe sometime the next few days you might just record a little tune for us to slip in here at the end of our conversation?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll send that to you.
Yeah. Well, Charlie and Pat, it has been a great pleasure talking to you. Hope we get some new viewers for you. They will certainly have fun if they check out the Big Fiddle Show, and the website is full of stuff. One thing I didn't click on to check out, but is tablature produced for the fiddle tunes, or is it audio recordings or standard notation? Or
okay, you mean for the lessons I put up?
Yeah.
You get there's the video lesson, and I always give you a transcription of the tune with chords and also mandolin tab too. I'm a half I'm not fully fast mandolin player. I'm afraid now, having met Chip, I'm afraid to say I even own a mandolin because he's so good. But I struggle around on one, and so I've got mandolin tab too with all those things.
Yeah, well, Chip Bach, of course, produces these interviews, and he is the reigning Texas mandolin champion.
Indeed.
And I deservedly so, having heard him play so many times.
Absolutely. Well, it has been a great pleasure talking to you, and I really look forward to seeing you in person someplace, somewhere, and maybe one of these Octobers that could be down at our festival in just outside of Austin. It's a beautiful site, a good time of year for an event in Texas. We wouldn't want to do a July or August festival down here.
No, I don't think so.
No.
As you can imagine. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for finding time for us. And I'll certainly be tuning into your next Big Fiddle Show. Do they come out on a certain day of the week, or is it a little bit?
We're kind of on a to be announced basis. So the next one is the weekend of Memorial Day, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend.
It's always going to be a Friday.
Always on a Friday, and 8 o'clock Central.
But not every Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
in the summer for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and thanks to all you out there for watching this little conversation. We've been talking with Patt Plunkett and Charlie Walden, two great fiddlers in Charlie's the fiddler, Pat is the pianist. playing in that Missouri style that has got a lot of notes and is awfully enjoyable to listen to. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time here at AFTM Online.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.